Setting the Pace with Tribeca. I'm Richard McCulloch, Vice President of Marketing and Admissions Consulting, and I'm very honored to have next to me Dr. Joe Pace.
Thank you.
He's a performance psychologist. He's also been the chairman of the Pacific Institute's Education Initiative, and he's been working in this career education sector for almost 50 years. So welcome, Dr. Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, so why are we doing this? Tribeca is a student-focused marketing company, and the Pacific Institute and Dr. Pace are valued members of our higher education sector. And we thought it'd be a good opportunity to have some conversations, some chats about best practices, things that schools should all be thinking about, because at the end of the day, as us as marketers, we realize that great outcomes for your students is the best marketing strategy that you can have. What do you think about that, Dr. Pace?
Yeah, the thing I like about our alliance and partnership is that Tribeca is very student-focused, student-oriented. Well, the programs that I created at the Pacific Institute are all about students and all about their well-being and the psychological aspects of what keeps students in school, what keeps them persisting, what gives them grit.
Right.
And it's a beautiful type thing because your marketing and admissions dovetails right into what we do in our classrooms with our programs, our orientations,
Right.
training of faculty. So it's basically the same philosophy.
Yeah,
It's seamless.
And you know, at the end of the day, we also want people to understand that we want to look at higher education in its most holistic form. You know, it's one thing to get students into your school. We want to know the best ways to keep them in your school, keep them engaged, have great outcomes in terms of placement and all the other KPIs that our institutions are looking at to measure their outcomes. And I think there's going to be some great things shared throughout this series. And, you know, Dr. Pace, when you look at your background, and you look at today's higher education, especially the career higher education sector, what are some of the things that you think are going to be very important for us to address long term?
Yes, I think the big thing is many of our students in our career colleges are first generation going to college and school. And they may have the intelligence, but they may not have the right habits, the right attitudes, the right beliefs, the right expectations. Maybe not enough self-esteem. And this curriculum, coupled with what you do in marketing and admissions, leads to that, and the students begin to feel a sense of confidence that they can do it.
That's right.
Then we also train all the faculty and staff so everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely. And you'll hear a lot of us talking about that continuum of how we treat students. You know, a lot of times in schools, you know, they get a lot of love, a lot of attention when they're going through the admissions process, but somehow that is not necessarily followed all the way through the continuum of the student journey. So, hey, I can know I speak for Dr. Pace. We look forward to these conversations that we'll be having with you, and please continue to watch Setting the Pace with Tribeca.
Yeah, I'm excited about doing this and working together with you and Tribeca because I think we have a seamless fit that can help students persist.
Absolutely. And
From beginning to end. You know, student retention, which is what I've been doing all my life, starts in admissions and starts in marketing.
Yep. And I think we can bring more of that to the table with our clients and even just other people out there that are working in higher education. We can make higher education a better value proposition for all the students involved.
Absolutely. I think it's a new day in our sector.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about creating a positive connection between admissions, faculty, and staff. And I have to say that this is something, having been in the industry for over 20 years in various roles, including admissions, it was always something that I thought was important. Some schools are better at it than others in terms of creating that positive connection, but when I was first chatting with Dr. Pace about this, he came up with an analogy that I really think that all of you should hear. I think it's a really good way of understanding how important this is. Why don't you share that with them?
Well, being a psychologist, one of the things we know as a concept is that human beings think in pictures.
Yes.
And those pictures come from many times, if we don't have pictures, they come from words, pictures, and then there's emotion that causes people to want to stay in school or to get motivated. So it's all about the picture. And if we don't have the right picture going on between marketing, admissions, orientation, faculty, staff, there's a disconnect then. So the students have a picture that's painted by the marketing team.
Right.
Also, then the admissions folks go on and paint the picture for them.
Correct.
Then what happens is they go to financial aid, okay, and then usually they enroll and we go to orientation and then to a classroom. Okay, now the thing I've found over the years is many times the faculty have no clue what admissions is telling them.
Correct. Yeah.
So they have no idea the picture. You know, whether they're just coming to school to take to major in medical assisting. Okay, that's fine, but why are they doing that? What is their picture? Many times they'll say, "It's my 3-year-old daughter. I want a better life for my daughter." Now those are decisive thoughts that if every employee was on the same page with at least understanding,
Sure.
and everybody then would come together, become seamless. When that happens, they just play into the student's picture, and the student will persist. Most students who drop in the first 3 weeks to 3 months because the pictures don't match.
Correct.
But no one knows that. It's not what they thought it was going to be. Maybe because faculty or staff had no clue what admissions has told them.
You're absolutely right. And I think, if we're going to take it to marketing terms, it's all about brand consistency.
Exactly.
Whatever we're communicating as this is your brand, this is your value proposition as a higher education institution, what we have to ensure is that from the time they walk through that front door, that picture or that continuum of imagery is being realized within the academy,
Absolutely.
within the campus level.
Absolutely.
Do you see that as being something that is fixable if it doesn't exist right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step is that faculty, especially because faculty are they're the Marines, they're right in their front line with these students.
That's right.
That they really need to know what's said in the marketing materials
Right.
and what admissions tells them, whether they have a checklist or whatever. Most cases I find that the faculty and staff are really impressed with what they see.
Yeah.
Now, if they don't know what they're saying, how can they be delivering? I mean, they might be delivering a course in billing and coding,
Right.
but the point is they're losing the vision. And students drop once they lose the vision or the picture. And so the idea of bringing everybody together on the same page, at least in concept, I think is just critical. And you'll begin to see improvement in student retention, 2% here, 3%, 4%. And it just continues because everybody's on the same page.
Right. And it just goes to show marketing and admissions cannot live within a vacuum.
Absolutely.
Devoid of any connection with the rest of the departments. Financial aid,
Everything.
education, placement.
Passing the baton, and I think student retention starts in marketing.
Absolutely.
And admissions, and then follows through. So there has to be that marriage there, and it's easy to do. You get everybody to replace their pictures or to create the same picture,
Yeah.
and it's pretty simple, what the students are looking for. But it works.
So let's paint some consistent pictures, I guess, is what the lesson is, right?
Absolutely.
So we've been talking about creating a positive connection between admissions, faculty, and staff in higher education settings, and having the background of admissions, it's been very important, I think, to do as you said in the previous segment about painting a picture. And I remember when you talked about that, is that it starts right at the beginning. It actually starts with marketing, because the perception of what's going to happen at that school or on those campuses is going to start with the marketing messaging and then be reiterated by the admissions team. So when you think about how the admissions team presents to a potential student, what can schools do to make sure that what that admissions representative is saying is actually going to be realized in the classroom?
Yeah, one of the things I'd recommend is that you get the staff, including faculty and admissions, together for a meeting.
Absolutely.
And during that meeting, you show them the different marketing pieces that are used. You show them the questionnaire, if you have one, or what admissions actually says to the student.
Yeah.
And as they're hearing that, they're going to immediately say, well, this is really great. Usually they're very impressed when they hear it, because it's setting your best foot forward. Okay?
Absolutely.
But having said that, sometimes the faculty may say, well, we really don't do that. We don't really teach that in classroom. So then what has to happen is there has to be discussion. Well, why not? And you have to change the picture for them. In other words, either the faculty starts doing it, or the admissions and marketing has to change it.
Correct.
Because if that's number one reason students drop out of school in the first 3 weeks to 3 months is the pictures aren't matching.
Correct.
What they thought they were going to get isn't happening. And even though they have a vision of a better life for their child or for themselves, there's a disconnect there. And it usually lasts between 3 weeks and 3 months. And there's a psychological reason for that. To change a habit, an attitude, belief, or expectations, it takes a minimum of 3 weeks to 3 months. To go back to the old way, to current reality, is about the same.
Sure.
So it's in that same time period psychologically, if everybody is not trying their best to paint the picture, there's a disconnect. The baton
Absolutely.
that's being passed drops.
And from the marketing perspective, and this is a technique that I think, and based on what you just said, I think it could be better utilized within your campus dynamic. And that's focus groups and surveys.
Yes.
Because I think that sometimes if you can get everyone on your team in a room, do a focus group, I think that could be a very effective way of seeing where the pictures are not aligning.
Absolutely.
And getting an understanding, because I've noticed that when we do them, even with students, what you think is happening, when you do the focus group and surveys, may not match with what's really happening.
Absolutely. Another thing is, I think a blessing and sometimes a curse, because I love adjunct faculty. But sometimes the faculty member teaches at 4 or 5 other schools, comes in and teaches the class and goes home, and really is not concerned or doesn't understand the culture, if you will,
Yes, sir.
of a true career college that's focused on student retention. Okay, so I'm just going to teach my medical class and go home. I'm going to teach this and go home. I'm going to do my financial aid and go home. I'm going to do career services and go home. Meaning that they're just focused on their job and their department and not the whole student picture. I call what this culture is having an intelligent heart. In other words, especially for faculty, they have to have the IQ intelligence, of course, but the heart is what it's all about. I've learned in 40-some, almost 50 years of studying retention, it's all about the heart.
Correct.
And that means that it's the caring, the feeling people get, that you give the students of caring that keeps them in the school. Their academics comes.
Correct.
You lead with the heart and then follow with the mind. Now, not everybody subscribes to that.
Right.
Now, those who don't, they probably are not involved in the culture of an intelligent heart.
So, part of the intelligent heart then, when you think about it, is being concerned and invested enough in your institution to make sure that as a member of this continuum of education, that the pictures are matching all the way across.
Absolutely right. And you're always bringing new faculty and staff in, new students are coming in. So we call it CQI, continuous quality improvement. It never ends. You keep working and making it better each time.
Great. So if you've been watching us, we've been talking about how we create positive connections between the admissions team, faculty, and staff within an institution of higher learning. And we've been talking a lot about painting a picture that's consistent throughout the whole academic journey of your students and passing the baton from department to department as you go through it. So now, we talk about the why you should have this. Dr. Pace, what do you think are the real benefits to the institutions that take this seriously and start to really working on making those pictures match?
Yeah, well, the first thing that happens is a culture is created of people working together.
Correct.
Student focused. I always for years used the term intelligent heart because words trigger pictures in your mind. So to me, intelligent heart is what every employee, I think, should have or be.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, we're like a caregiver too. I mean, we get students who are first generation going to college and schools, and they're smart enough and they're good enough, but maybe they just don't have the right habits yet. And so if every employee sees themselves as someone who has that intelligent heart and helps, a culture is created, a bonding of teamwork, high fives, everything else, but the students feel that immediately. They know that everyone is pretty much on the same page and has their best interests at heart.
Right.
So the idea then is, how do we do this kind of thing? Well, first of all, it's just a general education of what this information's about. how it works, and it's kind of like mom and apple pie common sense. I mean,
Yeah.
career colleges already do it, I think, better than any other sector of higher ed. But if you just amplify it, several times with the caring plus, working together, everybody understanding what admissions does and understanding what faculty does, creating that culture, it's almost as though you can't really, student won't drop, you don't, the idea is no one drops out in this school. You tackle them at the door.
Right.
It's unthinkable for anybody.
Because that becomes your
That's
culture.
it. That's what.
And interestingly enough, one of the things that I've seen has been beneficial, and I go on campuses and help admissions teams because as a marketing agency, it's one thing for us to get the student interest, but we really want to see our client admissions teams do well. And a way that I see that faculty and staff can interact better with admissions for the benefit of the institution is what I call product understanding versus product knowledge.
Yes.
Oftentimes, and even back when I first started admissions, when you train the admissions representative, you give them the catalog, here are all the courses, and this is what's going to be included in the program, and that's kind of how they learn. They may take a tour with a program director, but it's important that they really get to understand what each program is, so they're doing that accurate pictorial representation that can actually be represented. Where else do you see opportunities for them to pass the baton effectively? This orientation?
Yes.
Is that a good place?
Yeah, a big place is or student orientation, because if you think about it for a minute, they see marketing, they go into admissions, they go to financial aid, they register, they come to school.
Yeah.
So then we have an orientation. And I can tell you with all due respect, most orientations are terrible. Most orientations, they hand out the thou shalt not list.
Yeah, the
You
do
can't
not
do this,
do,
you
do
can't
not
do
do.
that,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
really, it should be a continuation of the vision.
Sure.
Of what admissions told them, what marketing told them. I used to be president and owner of several schools in South Florida. I did the orientation. I stood up with all the advertising pieces and held them up.
Right.
And I said, how many of you saw this? How many of you saw the TV commercial? How many? And I would tell them that I am here with my staff to make sure that comes
Sure.
to fruition, that happens. If it doesn't, come and see me. What'll happen, you'll see, just by that mindset, okay, anywhere from 5 to 8 to 10% improvement, getting those students from the first term to the second term, when they're
Correct.
more likely to drop out. I've also created a student program where I'm on the videos. So they're learning the concepts while we train the teachers to deliver the concepts.
Right.
And then we train the faculty and staff. So it's like a 2-track system that just locks in everybody being on the same page.
Right. And that, just to go back to the orientation part, and I think you're so right, and if we're all honest that are in this industry, if the admissions teams are always the happy, positive, optimistic, painting the best picture possible, and then all of a sudden you go to orientation, now you're being said, you can't do this, you better not do that, you can't. So that's just within the admissions process to orientation before you even stepped into the first class.
That's right.
A change in picture. The picture's already
Yeah,
skewed.
they
at
already
that
got 1
point.
or 2 strikes on you.
That's it.
And then I always say, darn it, bad luck, they drop, And all
Absolutely.
this stuff is going on, and nobody really appears to see it.
Well, I think that I hope this conversation has been beneficial to some of the institutions and the administrators and the staff members, faculty members that are watching this, because I think it's a huge opportunity for us to help everyone kind of take a look at things that you don't necessarily see because you're in it every day.
That's right.
And these are discussions that we hope that you're having in your institution.
And that's what we do, working together as a team.
Yeah, and we're very happy to be doing that. And thanks so much, Dr. Pace.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We'll be back.
Yes, and we'll be back for sure.